What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Too Pop to Handle. I'm your host, Andrew Nucatola, your pop culture best friend. And as always, I hope you guys are having a fabulous week. Happy July. I hope everybody had a very happy and safe Pride Month or Pride weekend if you were celebrating over the weekend. I know I sure was. I was legitimately mute all day long yesterday. And so conveniently, they decided to start the construction directly outside my window on our building yesterday morning or Monday morning. And I woke up to drilling at like 8:30 in the morning after being out literally on a 3-day bender. So that was really fabulous, really fun. However, I had such a great Pride weekend. We had so much fun. Like I was saying last week, I went to go see Nymphia Wind on Thursday. Thank you again to the town hall for having me. It was such a great show. It was so cool. She had so many different drag queens, like local girls, and just like there was such a cool environment about all the girls that she brought out. They were all of Asian descent, and it was all just like really, it was special to see like the way that they all kind of have a different approach to doing drag and performance art. It was really well done. And Nymphia is just such a performer. Like she's had such a good way of like doing silly, crazy drag, but also doing like really serious, stunning drag. Like she did a really good mix of both. It was a little bit silly, a little bit fun, a little bit kooky, a little bit cunty. Like it was such a great show. I had so much fun. And congratulations to the winner as well of the giveaway. I know that you had a blast. So I'm so happy I was able to have one of you guys get to go to the show as well. And then Friday night, we headed to $3 Bill in Brooklyn and did like a Gaga Mayhem Pride night. And like, I know this is my own fault because I legitimately bought the ticket to go see or to go to a Gaga Pride night. However, I cannot hear another Lady Gaga song from Mayhem for at least 2 weeks. Like I heard so much Abracadabra, Garden of Eden, Zombie Boy, like, and you guys know I love Mayhem so much. It's one of my favorite albums of the year. However, I legitimately don't think I have ever heard that many Lady Gaga songs from one album in a 72-hour period in my life. And I'm like, I need a breather. I need a break. I have abra'd my last cadabra. Like it was insane. And granted, like, yeah, when it's a Pride weekend and it's like the year of a Lady Gaga release, of course, is going to be everything that you hear. Like you're not going to hear anything else. But like the fact that I didn't hear Killa once, but I heard Abracadabra at least 97 times within 72 hours. It was a lot, but I still had a blast. It was still so much fun. So yeah, Friday night we're at $3 Bill. Saturday we kind of just like bar hopped around. We did like the West Village. We ended up at some day party. It was called Millennial Bullshit, and it was so much fun. They had like Lunchables at the bar. It was like all 90s, early 2000s themed. They were playing like really old school commercials and stuff on the wall, like projected. It was so fun. They were playing like old school Fergie, Black Eyed Peas, like just like a good throwback millennial, quite literally millennial bullshit. It was so much fun. We had a blast, and that took us out for the entire night. We like had planned to be out all night long Saturday, and Pride took its toll on us. It does it to the best of us. It happens. But it was so much fun to just like be out and about doing our thing. And then Sunday, the big day, like the big bang of the weekend, actual Pride in New York. We went back to $3 Bill and just bopped around there for the day. We did that last year too, and it was so much fun. It's just nice because they have so many different DJs and different rooms you can go to. You can be inside, you can be outside, and you never know who's going to show up. Like there's always just somebody walking around or popping up at $3 Bill. Last year, Bowen Yang was there, and we were like brushing shoulders. It's always just like something going on at $3 Bill. So it was always a fun spot to end for Pride Month. And that was my Pride weekend. It was legitimately crazy, but I had so much fun, and it was just a blast. And, especially I keep saying this year, it was like so important to be louder and prouder than ever, just like everything going on. Oh my God. But also insane. There was a shooting outside of Stonewall. Thankfully, it wasn't like anything too crazy. There were 2 girls who were shot, both teenagers, so like very young to be dealing with that. And there's like little to no media coverage about it, which is just really heartbreaking because it's quite literally should be classified as a hate crime, but naturally it's just kind of like getting brushed under the rug because shootings in the US are just normalized now. And it's like, oh yeah, another Sunday, it is what it is, but just very scared. I was literally at Stonewall on Saturday afternoon, and then on Sunday night this happens. And it happened like a block or 2 away from Stonewall, but still, if you're in the West Village, if you don't know, the West Village is like a very gay neighborhood. It's literally where Pride began. It's where Stonewall is. And like, if there's a gun being pulled out anywhere, it's not okay. But like during Pride weekend in the West Village, like 2 + 2 is 4. And like, obviously we know what their motive was. So it's very scary. And I'm very happy to hear that the 2 girls are okay. And like they made it and they're fine. But like, God, it's just a crazy world. So like I said, we need to continue to be louder and prouder, but also be safe in these trying times. So that was my Pride weekend. I hate to start it off on like a negative note and talk about a shooting, but nobody else is going to do it. So I guess that's just the life that we live in. But yeah, I hope everybody had a fabulous weekend, and I am having a really hard time grasping the fact that it is already July. Like, it is actually insane, but I guess the show must go on, and the year is just chugging along as one does. That's really all I have for a little intro. So I think let's pop into the show and get things started, because we had some very exciting releases last week. So let's kick things off, as we always do, with our Drew releases, our new music releases from last week, and our new music releases coming up this week. I mean, if you follow me anywhere, if you know me, if you've been listening to the show for any amount of time since really like April, you know that the big thing that happened this week in music is Lorde is back with Virgin, and I am so thrilled. I talked about the album last week because I did get to hear it early at Baby's Alright, which is still like, I'm still reeling from that. It was like the craziest night of my life. But now that I get to like sit with the album and really like digest it and listen to the lyrics and like really understand, like what these songs are about, it is incredible. I am so obsessed with this album. It is just so well done. And I was talking about it on TikTok, and I was saying how I think what I really love about this album the most is that it really has the best of everything from all of her albums. The lyrics and the vocals that she does are a little solar power-esque, but then like the production and, the sonically, it sounds a little more melodrama, pure heroine. And it really is like a blend of all of her projects. And I'm really just like absolutely in awe of how fantastic it is. I think my favorites still stand. I was saying last week that Favorite Daughter is one of my favorites. I love Shapeshifter, If She Could See Me Now. What else? I mean, they're all Broken Glass. Oh my God, Broken Glass. I liked it when I listened to it as a listening party, but like Broken Glass is climbing the chart. It is incredible, not like the Billboard chart, but my chart, like my personal chart. It is fantastic, but there really isn't like a bad song on this album. Like, I hate to say that because obviously I'm biased because like I just love Lorde so much, but like I genuinely think this is a no skip album. Like, even people being like, oh, Clear Blue is like, I skip it, whatever. Like, how are we skipping Clear Blue? It is so different and unique and like something she's never done before. And it's like, are we not appreciating somebody like exploring their artistic abilities and, swapping it up? I don't know. To me, there's genuinely not a single skip on this album, and I am obsessed with it. I'm in the middle of figuring out doing an episode where I break down track by track. I have a friend who wants to come on, but we're trying to figure it out with our schedule. So I'm hoping we get to record that sometime this week, if not early next week, and I'll drop it sometime next week or whenever. But I'll keep you guys updated. As always, just follow me on socials and I'll keep you guys in the loop. But I'm definitely, even if I end up doing it solo, like I'm gonna do an album breakdown for this because I absolutely love this album with everything in me. We are so lucky that Lorde is back. She always knows when we need her. She always knows. She comes back when the world needs her most. And for that, I am so thankful. I'm going to be fully honest. I really have had a hard time listening to anything else because of how much I love this album. And then mixed with Pride weekend, I was out and about so much that like the window for me to be listening to music in not like a vegetable state was kind of very small. You guys understand. I heard a lot of Gaga and a lot of Lorde this weekend. But I did listen to Lizzo's mixtape, My Face Hurts From Smiling, and I really like it. I really did listen to it kind of just like surface level. Like, I didn't get into it too much. Like, I know some of the songs and the lyrics and stuff, but like I didn't really like listen. And I feel like after everything she's been through the last few years and months, whatever, I really want to like sit with it and like understand like what she's singing about. It is very happy. And, obviously it's literally called My Face Hurts From Smiling. So I don't think she's really focusing on the negative as much, but there's like a SZA song, a Doja Cat song. I really want to sit with it some more. So I'm not going to give my full opinion yet, but I am really liking the vibe. I also just really love female rap. Like, that's one of my favorite genres. So the fact that it's like a mixtape and she's kind of going this like hip hop rap path. What am I trying to say? Clearly the Pride weekend tiredness is still seeping in. But this like R&B rap path that she's going down, I'm really into, and I'm really excited to really digest this album a little bit more. And then we also got a new single from Renee Rapp. The second single from her upcoming album, Bite Me, is called Mad, and I'm really liking it. I was talking to my friends Jacqueline and Joe about this, and I was saying that I really like the songs she's putting out. They're great. Like, they're good pop songs. They're sonically fun. Like, and I like that she's getting cheeky with her lyrics. Like, she's really just like going for it. She kind of is just like, she's always had like an I don't give a fuck attitude, but now more than ever, she's really just like, I'm going to say whatever I want and like sing about the fact that you could be getting head from me, but you're acting like a bitch, so you're not. But I really am hoping on the album, the lyrical content gets a little more deep and it's not just kind of like surface level, like, fuck you, I'm a lesbian now and I'm going to do whatever I want, which like, I'll still eat it up if she does that. And like, I'm totally fine with that because Renee just, over anything, Renee Rapp is such a vocalist that like, I just am like in awe of her music always. Like she's so talented and like she does have really great writing, especially when you listen to her first album, even her EP. Not every single song has like really, deep rooted lyrics. She's not the songwriter of our generation by all means, but the lyrics are kind of feeling a little surface level, which is fine for some tracks, but I do really want her to get a little more in depth with the lyrics, which I do think she will later in the album once we get it. But these first two singles are kind of just, she's wants to be a little punchy. She wants to make some headlines. So I get why she's doing what she's doing. That's kind of where I'm at in Renee's world right now. Still loving these songs. Really excited for the album. Like, I don't want you to think I'm not looking forward to the album, but I do have some things that I want on the album after hearing two songs. And again, they're only two songs. There's a whole rest of the album that we haven't even heard that I could be the best songs I've ever heard in my life. So obviously I'm always holding space for Renee Rapp, but I'm just, voicing my opinion as a podcast host does. And then next, this actually isn't a song that came out this week. I actually don't know when it came out, but it's been popping up on my TikTok non-stop. And it's a song called New Friends by Flower O Love. You've probably heard it on your TikTok or seen it. She's opening for Olivia Rodrigo in some of her UK dates right now, I believe. It's just so fun. It feels very fresh and new. And it's like, I think she's like 19. So like, I always am applauding like a pop star who's so young and just ready to just like break into the scene. I think she's so cute. I love all of her TikToks. I love this song. It is really, really fun. If you're looking for something new to add to your summer playlist, it is 100% summer. Like this is summer vibes that you want. And actually, I don't know if I've mentioned this on the podcast. I know I mentioned it on my Substack, but I created like a 2025 summer playlist. Memorial Day weekend, I sent it out, and I've been adding to it as, the weeks go on, we get new music, or if I discover new music. And so that song is now on there. So if anybody's interested in that playlist, head over to my Substack and I have it there. There's a Spotify one, Apple Music one. I've been adding to that, which has been really fun. So that song is now on there as well, and along with some other songs I'm listening to all summer long. And that wraps up our releases from last week. I do know that there was a new Kim Petras song, Polo. Haven't listened to it yet. There was a few other releases that I missed last week. They're slipping my mind now, but I definitely have some music to catch up on. But again, Pride, Lorde, there's been a lot going on. So I'll get to it when I get to it. Coming up this week, 4th of July, we have a very exciting release from Miss Kesha. She's releasing Period. And I've been really loving the singles from this album. So I'm really excited to hear the entire project and just really get into my party girl Kesha era, as if I need to party any more than I did over Pride weekend. But you guys get the gist. So I will definitely be tuning into that and checking it out and letting you guys know my thoughts on that. And that wraps up our Drew releases. Now, before we get into our next segment of the show, I'd just like to remind you guys that if any point during this episode you are liking what you were hearing, go ahead and leave me a 5-star rating. Don't be shy. Leave a review, leave a rating. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you go ahead and hit subscribe, leave me a like, drop a comment. Don't be shy around here. I am very open to chatting in the comments. I'm open to any 5-star ratings that you want to give me. And, I am accepting them with open arms. So if you're liking what you're hearing, it really is the best way to help support the show and, just help the show grow and get pushed into other algorithms. And I hate to cave to an algorithm because that's so meta of me, but like, this 2025 is kind of the world that we're living in. So if you have not left a review yet and you've been listening and you're liking what you're hearing, don't be shy. Go leave a review, leave a rating, do what you got to do, and it will be greatly appreciated. And now let me stop yapping about how you guys can help me, and let me help you out with some pop culture moments from the week that were just too pop to handle, some pop culture rapid fire, kicking it off with some very exciting news for our Miley Cyrus fans. You know what they say, you always find your way back home, and Miley has announced that her new visual album, Something Beautiful, will be streaming on Disney Plus and Hulu later this month. So she announced that on July 16th, everybody can watch the entire visual album on Disney Plus, which is just so exciting. It's such a full circle moment. I mean, Miley wouldn't be Miley without Disney Channel and Hannah Montana. That's really where her career kickstarted. And, obviously there was some separation between the two for a while. Miley had to find her wings and, break out, if you will. But it is nice to see her kind of going back to Disney. And obviously she's not cleaning up her act in a sense of like letting them, Disney gets a bad rep, unfortunately, for like the Disney Channel era and like having them fit a certain image. And Miley obviously was never doing that. But it's nice that she's able to like be Miley and be her adult self and still be supported by a network that really helped kickstart her career. And even if you think, I mean, Miley was inducted as a Disney legend last year. The Endless Summer Vacation Backyard Sessions was on Disney Plus. So this has been like a relationship that they've been forming again for a while. So to see Miley bringing this entire visual album to Disney Plus and Hulu was very exciting. I've seen it twice now, and it really is just like a work of art. Like you can tell that Miley put so much behind it. And I'm just so excited that everybody is able to watch it at home now. I can't wait to watch it again. And it's just very exciting. She also, kind of on the same topic, she'd officially released the Every Girl You've Ever Loved music video, which is the song with Naomi Campbell. That visual is seriously so stunning and just so gaggy because like the two of them together just like being models is just unbelievable. It does, we knew this was going to happen, that this was the next single, especially after last week when they did the vinyl signing for Every Girl You've Ever Loved at Rough Trade. We talked about that last week and all of that drama. We're not getting into it again. But I am still really confused because Walk of Fame has like an edited version and it's like cut down to be like radio length, you know? So I'm just confused as to why Every Girl You've Ever Loved is getting pushed before Walk of Fame. But I mean, does anything ever really make sense with Miley? She kind of is always just like doing whatever she wants and releasing whatever she wants. So I'm not complaining. It's just a little confusing in that sense, but very excited that, you know, Every Girl I've Ever Loved is going to have its moment. That music video really is so cunty. You know, they really just like went for it, and they might just be standing in a warehouse, but like nobody's ever looked better in a warehouse than Miley Cyrus and Naomi Campbell in this music video. If you haven't watched it yet, it's available now. But also I can understand if you want that element of surprise, you only have a few more days to wait for the entire visual album to come out. So pick your poison regardless. Very excited that Something Beautiful is going to be available to everybody very soon. Moving on into some movie news, some very exciting movie news actually. Gird your loins because The Devil Wears Prada 2 is officially in production and I am so excited. So Meryl Streep, Anne Hathaway, Emily Blunt, and Stanley Tucci will all be returning to reprise their roles. They are also introducing a new character, Kenneth Branagh. I'm so sorry if I'm butchering that name, but he has been cast as Miranda's husband. If you remember in the first movie at the end, she has that like breakdown in the hotel in Paris because there's going to be the divorce or whatever. So I guess this is just kind of playing into that storyline. And I'm curious to see how he kind of plays in with the twins and everything like that. But obviously we'll find that out as we go. The plot hasn't been fully nailed down yet, but like the rumors that are swirling around and what's being discussed is that Miranda Priestley is basically like at the end of her career because there's such a decline in print media. And Emily Blunt's character, who is also named Emily, which is very confusing, is a higher up at like a media agency who focuses more on digital, which is obviously where the world has gone since 2006. So obviously we know Miranda Priestley doesn't like to ask for help and has a lot of pride. So I'm really curious to see like how that kind of comes to fruition. And also I'm really curious to see like the storyline of how Emily ended up leaving Runway and how that worked out, because she was like, I thought she was going to be chained to that desk outside of her office forever. Like all she wanted to do was work at Runway. So I'm really curious to see how she left. I'm also really curious to see how Anne Hathaway's character Andy comes back into play, because obviously she left on such bad, well, not bad terms, but so abruptly. Miranda clearly had so much respect for her because she gave her that great referral for the next job, but like there's definitely some diciness there. So I'm curious to see how that works. Also curious, like with Stanley Tucci's character, he kind of got burned by Miranda towards the end of the movie and not getting that position. So I'm really curious just to see like how this all comes about. And it's been 19 years. It'll be 20 years. The movie comes out May 1st, 2026. So by then it'll be just about 20 years since the first movie came out. So it really is such like a wholesome full circle moment. I'm really excited to see everybody back on screen together. And this plot of this sequel, this makes sense. Like I did a whole episode not too long, it was actually probably a couple months ago now, talking about how like some sequels are completely unnecessary. This feels necessary. And also with the musical just opening on the West End and everything, there's so much buzz about it. And I think what better way to celebrate the 20th anniversary than having everybody get back together and do a whole new movie. And with the movie being so focused on print media, it makes so much sense for them to kind of take this new digital age spin on it. And I also just think it's such crazy timing that like this is all getting announced and like coming to fruition the same week that Anna Wintour is stepping down as editor-in-chief of Vogue. If you guys aren't subscribed to my newsletter, I sent it out over the weekend talking about how Anna Wintour is taking on this new role. She's not stepping down as much as she is just like shifting her role. And what I'm now understanding is that the editor-in-chief is going to report to Anna. So she kind of is putting on like bigger girl shoes, which I didn't think was possible. But like all of this news coming out about The Devil Wears Prada the same week that Anna Wintour is like changing her role at Vogue for the first time in 37 years. It feels very, very strange. Like we're seeing two parallels happening, which is so bizarre to me, but I'm very, very excited for this movie. And like I said, it comes out May 1st, 2026. So we really don't have that much longer. We have like 10 months before it comes out. So very excited for this. Anne Hathaway also has a big year coming up. She's doing a lot. There's lots of movies coming out. There's lots of things that she is already cast in. So it's going to be a big year for Anne Hathaway next year. And I, for one, love to see that. And then some other casting news. Another person I love to see on the big screen, Miss Jennifer Aniston, has been set to play Jenette McCurdy's mom in the TV adaptation of her book, I'm Glad My Mom Died. I read this book when it came out. What was that, 2023, I want to say. I believe I covered it on this show, actually. I feel like that was one of the first stories we talked about in one of my very first episodes, but that was now, feels like it was yesteryear, it feels like it was so long ago. But they are bringing it to Apple TV. It's going to be a 10-episode dramedy, and it's going to center around the codependent relationship between an 18-year-old actress in a hit kids show and her narcissistic mother who relishes in her identity as a starless mother. And if you haven't read this book yet, I cannot recommend it enough. I actually listened to the audiobook because Jenette narrates it herself, so it's a little more emotional that way. And I also just prefer audiobooks, which I know is a controversial opinion, but I'm not here to be a book podcast, so we're not getting into that. But it was such a sad, but also very, like, it was really eye-opening to everything going on with like child stars back in the day. And then like that coming out right around the time of Quiet on Set. Like there was just so much that came out around that whole era of Nickelodeon, whatever you want to call it. It was just really eye-opening, and it was heartbreaking. It was so sad to read what Jenette went through, but it was a really, really well done and a really great book. Jenette will be writing, executive producing, and show running the series along with Ari Katcher, and Jennifer Aniston will also act as an executive producer. And I'm just really excited for this. I'm also really curious to see who's going to play Jenette. I mean, I don't think Jenette should be playing herself in this because she already lived the trauma once. Why are we going to make her do it again in a TV show? Like, it just seems a little, she doesn't have to do it twice. I mean, the girl can barely pop a confetti popper without like freaking out. We don't need to have her have any more, no more trauma for Jenette McCurdy. I think she's dealt with enough, but I'm curious to see who they end up casting for her role. I mean, Jenette has such a big hand in this show right now that they're obviously going to get somebody who she really trusts with this story, but I'm really curious to see who it will be. There wasn't a date or anything for when this comes out, and they're just kind of in the early stages. Like I said, it just got announced today. I'm sure they're just in the early stages of writing it and things like that, but very exciting to see that this is coming to screens. And like I said, if you haven't read this book or listened to this book yet, I would definitely recommend it before this comes out. I mean, I'm sure they'll do a great job of telling the story, but it's only 10 episodes, and like there's so much that happens in the book between everything with her mom and her brothers and with Dan Schneider, or the creator as she calls her. Also, there's like a whole thing about Ariana Grande in the book. So there's a lot in the book that I'm curious if it's going to make it to the TV series. I mean, 10 episodes, you figure they're an hour plus long each. Like, you can fit a lot into that, but I'm curious to see how they're going to go about it. And like, are they going to do like flashbacks? Is it going to be, going back and forth? Because the book is split into two parts. It's like before she dies and after. It's like there's like a page that literally says like after she dies or something along those lines. So I'm curious to see if they're going to do like 5 and 5 or how they're going to split it that way. But I'm very excited for this. I feel like Apple TV always does a really good job with their roles. Also, Jennifer Aniston just like has both of her hands involved with everything at Apple TV, it feels like, which I'm not complaining about, but it's cool to see that she's found such like a nice home at Apple TV. But yeah, I'm very excited for this. I'm really looking forward to it, and we will definitely be chatting about that once it comes out. Moving over to some concert news, which you guys know I love to chat about. I'm sure we've all seen now, but the car tilt heard around the world. Beyonce almost fell out of the car during 16 Carriages over the weekend at her Houston show at NRG Stadium. So during 16 Carriages, Beyonce is risen from the stage and flies around the stadium. It really was such a beautiful moment when I went to this tour. Like, it's so cool. And like in the seats that I was in for 2 of the shows, she literally flew right over us. Like, it was insane. She's truly like right there. It's nuts. And it's such a cool part of the show because it's just simple. She's just flying around singing this beautiful song and like doing her thing. Mind you, she's in like a full ball gown, and it's just like a whole moment. So over the weekend, I think it was on Saturday. Yeah, I believe it was Friday night or Saturday night. She was performing the song, doing her thing. She was in Houston, her hometown. All eyes are on this show, obviously, because like it's Houston, and this album is so Houston centric and country centric that everybody was waiting to see like what was going to happen this show. I don't think any of us could have predicted that this is the show where the car was going to malfunction and damn near tilt her out of the thing. So if you didn't see the video, she's like flying around the stadium, and it's like slowly slowly tilting. It's like going a little bit. And like at first it's like, oh, maybe it's intentional. Maybe it's the way the stadium is set up. But then like after 30 seconds, you're like, oh no, this car is fully tilting. Like something is incredibly wrong with this car. And she actually like is like, stop. We got to stop the song. She gets lowered to the ground and literally has to walk her way back to the stage. And like, obviously this is not the point, but like watching Beyonce just like walk through the stadium and then like up a staircase, like it was I was like, this does not seem like something Beyonce needs to be like. Beyonce walking up a staircase is something I never thought I needed to see. You know, it just felt so strange in that sense. And I mean, there's so many things that come to my mind. First and foremost, how does this happen? You know, like this is now, we're almost done with the tour. There's only a few more cities left. I think 3 more cities are left. Yeah, 3 more cities are left. So like we're through the thick of the tour. So for this to happen now, it's just very crazy. And obviously I'm so happy she was safe, and that, you know, it could have been a lot worse, obviously. But it really raises the question, is like, how did this happen? Did they not rehearse it beforehand? Like, did something happen when they were attaching it? Because she flies through the crowd earlier in the show as well when she done the horseshoe, and like that went totally fine. And it doesn't follow the same track, but it's the same. It's close enough. Like it's still the same wires. You know, there's not that many tracks up around the stadium for her to fly through. So I was really curious to see curious to know rather, like how did the horseshoe make it, but the car didn't? I mean, I guess it is a full car, so like maybe, you know, there's a little extra weight up there, but just very bizarre and like not something that usually happens at a Beyonce show. Like Beyonce is usually so to the like second, everything is perfectly fine polished. So very bizarre in that sense. And then secondly, I just immediately think like this is going to be the alien superstar blackout moment of the Cowboy Carter Tour movie. Like if you've seen the Renaissance movie, there's a whole scene where like the stage goes out and there's a whole power outage and she leaves the stage, has to change her outfit, and then comes back out and finishes the song. This is going to be that moment. And like the way that the camera crew and security ran to get her, like they were legitimately on the ground faster than I've seen anybody run to something before. Like the car started going down and security was on the floor, camera crew was on the floor. Like they were not playing around. And I need to see the footage of like once Julius, her security guard, like noticed what was happening. And like I hope cameras were up for that, because it's going to be such an insane scene for the Cowboy Carter Tour movie. Also, because Beyonce doesn't have a serious bone in her body, she ends up posting a dump from Houston night 1. The final slide is literally the car tilting over the stadium, which A, makes me crack up because like, of course you include that just to like make a joke of it. And B, the fact that her photographer knew like, we got to get her down, but let me snap this picture quick because it's going to look so dope on her Instagram feed. And like, it did. It's a really cool picture. I'm not going to lie. Obviously, I'm very happy that she is safe, but you know, you do it for the gram sometimes. And as if the photo wasn't enough, the next day they posted a reel of Beyonce's car going like up and down through the air to sitting sideways on Instagram. So clearly they are in good spirits about it and they're laughing about it. Beyonce always likes to make the most of a situation, even if it is a glitch. I mean, look at the alien superstar moment. The lights went out and she was like, all right, get me off stage. Let's change this outfit and we're going to go back out. Like she's always going to make a moment out of a mishap, you know, which I love about her. And then just the final thing about it, what I thought was really interesting, is that night she got out of the car, walked up on stage and had a whole little moment. She was like, you know, if I fall, I know you guys will catch me. You know, she had to make it sweet and wholesome and tie it back to the Beehive, of course. But she finished the song. And then for night 2, they just completely cut 16 Carriages in total. Like they didn't sing it at all. I thought she would just like come up on the riser and sing it on the stage and then go right into Amen and close the show, but they cut 16 Carriages completely. And I'm curious to see like how this kind of affects the rest of the tour. Like I said, we are towards the end, it's almost over, but I don't see her just like cutting 16 Carriages, which was one of the lead singles for the album. Like I feel like it was just probably at the Houston Stadium, they couldn't like make sure it was safe for the second night, so they just cut it totally. But I'm really curious to see like how they go about it for the rest of these shows. So I believe Friday is her next show, so we will see what happens on Friday. I am all about, let's keep Beyonce on the ground. Like if she doesn't need to fly around the stadium, you can sing the song on the stage. Like no one needs to see you flying around in the car anymore. You got your pictures. You know, it sucks that everyone, you know, misses out on that opportunity for the second or the latter half of the tour. But like if the options are Beyonce falling out of the sky or not having her fly around the stadium, we all know what the right choice is. So yeah, very curious to see how 16 Carriages carries on through the rest of the tour. And then the final moment of the week that was too pop to handle before we get into our main segment, Jack Antonoff is rumored to be producing Charli xcx's next album. So it's very much a rumor as of right now. It's normally I wouldn't bring a rumor to the show. I like to do a little more concrete, stuff here and not just be like, oh, well, this is this, da, da, da. But this is really interesting to me. And like knowing Jack and Charli's history, I'm really curious how this even would sound, I mean, they've worked together before. They toured together in 2015 for a little bit. I believe like half the tour ended up getting canceled, but that's none of my business. But like they're working on the A24 movie together and producing that entire album together. So I'm really curious to see like what is in store for this, and just thinking about like what a post BRAT Charli xcx world looks like, and the next album going from BRAT to Jack Antonoff production. That's such like a switch up, and like I'm all for it. Like I love Jack Antonoff. I love his production. I know we've talked about it a lot on the show, but like I know a lot of people don't love his producing. I, for one, I'm like, the more Jack, the better. Give it to me. I love it. So I'm really curious to see if this comes to fruition, if this is just like some rumor. It was apparently reported by Hits Daily Double, and then the post was taken down. So who knows like what the real truth is. Granted, we are getting a project from them anyway sometime this year or next year with Mother Mary, I believe it's called. Yeah, Mother Mary, the A24 movie, like I said. So it's, it's definitely not the craziest thing to happen. Like this definitely is something that is possible. It's not the farthest reach, for this, but it made me think like, what does a Charli xcx album produced by Jack Antonoff sound like? Because like she's done the like generic pop music before, she's had that moment. And like, not that Jack Antonoff produces generic pop music by all means, but it would be a little definitely teetering more towards like that mainstream kind of pop sound. I mean, Sabrina Carpenter, Taylor Swift, like, it definitely teeters that line where Charli has tried to stray so far away from that in the, especially with BRAT after everything that happened with her record label, and with Crash when she literally did like a rest in peace Charli thing to announce that it was, the era, because she was like, yeah, no, this is like the end of me, whatever. But it just makes me think, I'm like, what is next for Charli after BRAT? And like, does she go a little more mainstream to kind of stay with the general public, or does she continue on this like, I don't give a fuck attitude and just continue to release whatever she wants? Because like BRAT isn't a traditional, like it's not an album that would traditionally resonate with the public the way that it did. It's very, very out of the box from what people usually are gravitating towards, and a little more experimental and party girl and hyper pop kind of vibe. It was like BRAT isn't the norm of what usually trends in the world. Charli xcx was like, if you put Charli xcx on a playlist back in like 2017, people were like, what the fuck is this? I remember putting on Vroom Vroom in the car with my old roommate and her being like, what are we listening to? Like, what the fuck is this song? And I was like, you either get it or you don't get it. And now suddenly everybody gets it, it's great. I love it. I love it. Everybody is on board with Charli, but I'm really curious to see if she continues to worry and focus on making sure everybody is still on board, or if she's going to go back to that being like, I don't really care if everybody likes it or not. I'm going to do whatever I want. But we shall see. And again, this is a rumor. Who knows if Jack is actually doing it? Maybe it was just, for funsies. They wanted a little ha-ha out of the internet. We will see. But I thought it was very interesting. And I wanted to bring it up because, again, I know that everyone likes to hate on Jack Antonoff and his production styles, but I, for one, will always cheer for Jack Antonoff working with the girls. And while we're on the topic of Charli xcx, segueing us perfectly into our main segment of the show, Glastonbury happened over the weekend. And before I go any further, am I pronouncing that correctly? Because I saw so many people from the UK over the weekend being like, why are all the Americans calling it Glastonbury? Is it not? Is it Glastonbury? Like, am I saying something wrong? I don't know. To me, I read it and I'm like, yeah, Glastonbury. I've never heard people have such like an uproar over the pronunciation of this. Even Olivia Rodrigo, like hashtag Glastonbury, Berry, I guess like trying to make a joke about the pronunciation. Am I saying this wrong? Any of my UK listeners, I know there's some of you guys out there. I see you guys in my Spotify stats. So A, hello from across the pond. And B, can you let me know if I'm pronouncing this incorrectly? Because I'm going to continue pronouncing it for the rest of the show. So I can't obviously get your feedback right now. But I'm very curious because I'm seeing a lot of feedback online of people saying that. And I deeply apologize if I'm pronouncing this incorrectly. But for the sake of time and for, the lack of an English accent, Glastonbury happened over the weekend. And it was quite literally too pop to handle. I mean, the performers at this festival, they were my Apple Music Replay 2025 to a T, and we have so much to talk about. Probably the biggest moment of the weekend for me is Lorde's surprise set on Friday morning. I woke up and I was like, oh, maybe I'll catch it on the live stream. Then I forgot that they are 5 hours ahead of New York, I believe it was. So I woke up and I was like looking for what time, like, you know, looking up what time is it in the UK, trying to figure out the conversion. And I was like, oh, just kidding. She already performed. So didn't get to watch it live. I think it was at like 6:30 in the morning, our time. And, you know, I just wasn't happening. I was like, I don't need to be up at 6:30 in the morning to watch a live stream. I am okay. So we got the first live performance from every single song from Virgin, which is so exciting and just such a cool way to experience the album live for the first time, between it being a surprise. I mean, she literally got announced, I think, on Thursday night. She posted like the tent at the festival, and it was kind of like how they announced that she'd be performing, and then started putting up posters around. So just like very exciting for everyone there to like not have a Lorde set on their radar, and then for it to like pop up last minute, especially on her album release day, and especially when she plays the entire album front to back. Just really, really cool and really special. Like I can't even imagine how cool that was for her. And then she also played Ribs and Greenlight at the end, which just, you know, just to make sure everyone has a little fun at the end and play some songs that they know, but just such a cool experience. I mean, she had like her silver bra on. You can tell that she was just really feeling the music. And that's what I was talking about last week with this album, where yes, obviously you need to listen to it and hear the lyrics or whatever, but this album is really meant to be felt and experienced, which is why I'm so excited for the tour later this year. Like, I just think these songs specifically, compared to anything else that Lorde has ever done, are meant to be experienced. And like earlier, I was like in my kitchen cooking lunch, listening to the album, and I just like closed my eyes for a second and was like bopping my head back and forth. And I was like, this is how she wants us to feel it. Like, she wants us to disconnect and just fully immerse ourselves in these songs. And I just think these songs are going to be so fun and cool live. Like I can't wait to see what she does for the tour. But this was great. There's such a cool set, and again, such a fun surprise for everybody who was there. They already had such a killer lineup, and like there was the people who were already at the festival were definitely, you know, they were also big Lorde fans. You know, the set was crazy. The amount of people that showed up for it was nuts. So they knew what they were doing. It was very smart, and there's such an exciting way to kick off the Virgin era on release day. We also got a performance from Charli xcx. She actually was backstage at Lorde's performance. You could like see her on the side stage, and then Lorde was in the crowd for Charli's performance. And it was this video, I forgot who posted it, but it was of Lorde dancing to the Girl So Confusing remix, because Charli plays Lorde's verse on tour whether she's there or not. Like, they play the track regardless. And I was like, that's crazy that like Lorde was in the crowd for Charli's set listening to her verse on this song and didn't just like go up on stage to perform it. But I do think they have a special connection to the nights that they've played it. I mean, MSG and Coachella, like those are such big stages. Glastonbury is obviously a huge stage as well, but I think to not take away maybe from the surprise set that Lorde did, they want to just like have Lorde do her set, Charli do her set. I don't really know the logistics, but it was just funny to like watch Lorde dancing to Lorde at the Charli xcx set. That sounds like a crazy math equation there, but it was just a funny video to watch. They had Gracie Abrams as the Apple Girl, and she also burned the BRAT flag at the end. And you know, we don't have that much left of the BRAT era. She has a few more festivals. I believe she has like 6 more shows through August. They're all festivals. It's not any like BRAT tour dates. But it's just like, I'm like, if you're burning the flag now, how much longer do we have with the BRAT flag? You know, like, you've destroyed it. It's turning brown. It's molding. It's like, there's so much happening. It's ripping to this thing. And like, when is it like, are you going to just keep burning it till the end of this festival era, I guess? I don't know. It's very interesting to me, but the photo that she posted in front of the burning flag was so cool. Like, it was just such like a artsy, I don't know. It was really cool. If you did not see it, I literally was like, this needs to be like framed somewhere. This was so dope. And aside from the performance being fantastic and great, she got a lot of negative feedback. She got great feedback from most people, but she also got a lot of negative feedback of people complaining about her set and how she uses auto-tune. And, you know, Glastonbury it attracts a lot of different people. You know, it's a very artsy festival. Like Alanis Morissette was performing, and there's a lot of different people at this festival. So I can understand where, especially Charli xcx, like, isn't everybody's cup of tea. However, the way that people were reacting to her set, the fact that she had to like get online and like make a statement about it. She said, like, the idea of singing with the deliberate autotune makes you a fraud, or that not having a traditional band suddenly means you must not be a real artist, is like the most boring take ever. Yawn yawn, sorry, just fell asleep, XX. And then she says, but to be honest, I enjoy the discourse. In my opinion, the best art is divisive and confrontational and often evolves into truly interesting culture rather than being like kind of okay, easily understood and sort of forgettable. Then she said, really enjoying these boomer vibe comments on my Glastonbury performance. It's super fascinating to me. And I mean, like I said, Charli xcx isn't for everybody. She is this new like BRAT era fame that she is seeing is seriously like something so unprecedented. Like nobody could have predicted how big she would have gotten. And not that she doesn't deserve the success, but like I said earlier, her music just isn't something that is generally digested well from the general public and is kind of like this like niche corner of the music world that really appreciates her. I mean, if you were to play track 10 for an Amish person, they would probably pass away. But like, that's what's fun about Charli is like, she doesn't care and she goes against the grain and does whatever she wants. And she experiments with different sounds and things like that. So I think the way that these comments are coming through after such like a huge festival performance for her. I mean, anybody from the UK to perform at Glastonbury is like the biggest thing ever. Like that is such an accomplishment. So obviously she's gonna still be proud of her set, but I'm glad that she stood up for herself and said like, just because I'm not doing a traditional set like everybody wants, there's not a keyboardist and a drummer and a guitar on stage, you know, it's not just me with a microphone. I do use auto-tune and like I own up to it, like that's what I do, but that's her music. Like it's to be expected. So if anybody at her set didn't know that, I guess maybe then I see where the confusion comes in. But like if you're going to see Charli xcx, even if it's at a festival and like you're just stumbling across her set, you've got to, like, it's kind of on you if you don't know what to expect at this point. Like, she's broken into the mainstream so incredibly strong over the last few years. I mean, her song was in the Barbie movie. Like, she's really been having this moment in the last few years that, like, yeah, maybe you don't know her music exactly, but you know of her and there's like enough context for you to understand who she is and like what the whole situation is. I think so, at least. Maybe I live in a bubble. Maybe I just because I'm so immersed in it and I've known Charli for so long that like I don't think it should be as of a shock, like so surprising to people. But I was like, some of the comments people were making online, I was like, this is really unnecessary. Like, she's just like having fun and thinking about partying. Like, what's the big deal? I don't know. I didn't get it, but I was happy to see that she stood up for herself and like talked about it because the comments were very unnecessary. Something else to note about Charli is she changed the covers for all of her albums back to the original ones, which is really interesting because they haven't been the original covers since BRAT release day, which is now over a year ago. And she made a comment on TikTok, I want to say it was, saying like, when the albums change back, it's intentional. So that to me signifies that like there's something happening with Charli and like her music in the next era, but then she still has these festival performances for the rest of the year. But like, it's really interesting to me. And I feel like I've talked about the end of the BRAT era or like the potential end of the BRAT era so much because there's been so many ways for her to kind of end it. And she's making it this moment. She's making it to be talked about. I mean, the end of her sets after the Sweat tour are now like saying, I don't want to let go of this. I don't want it to end. Like everyone else is going to have their moment and I still want to have BRAT summer. So like she clearly knows what this means to not only her, but the fans and just like pop culture in general. So to see her switch all of the covers back to the original covers is really interesting. And also BRAT it said forever in like the green with the black font, said forever with like a heart. And now it is back to the original BRAT cover. So very interesting to see that only because she is so intentional this era, like everything she is doing, there's a reason behind it. So I'm really curious, like what's to come for Charli in the next few weeks or months. And I don't think she has another show until like mid-July or early August. So there is a bit of a break between when her next show is. I'm actually going to look it up really quick because I'm curious to see when, how long we need to wait for this. July 6th. Okay, so actually that's this weekend. Okay, this is why. So there's a show in Denmark on July 6th, and then the next show isn't until Budapest in August. And then she does 3 shows in August, back to back, August 6th, August 7th, August 8th, in Budapest, in Norway, and in Sweden. And then she does the Flow Festival in Helsinki sometime later this year. And then she does One Universe Festival in South Korea later this year. For some reason, there's no date. Oh, it's in August. Wow, she has like a really crazy 2-week run in August of just like show after show after show. It's literally the 7th, the 8th, the 9th, the 15th, the 16th, and the 17th, it looks like. So there's a lot going to happen then. So we have a show this weekend, a show in August, and then like the final run is that first week of August. And then I guess we will see what is next. But like her whole website is still BRAT, coded. I'm looking at it right now, but it is very interesting that she is changing her albums back and burning the flag. Burning it feels a little more permanent than like the brown mold coming up on it. Like burning it is like, you can scrub out some mold if you need to. You get a magic eraser, you get some bleach, you really get in there, some elbow work. Burning something is like, it's not coming back. So I'm really curious to see how that transpires as the rest of this era goes on and as like the BRAT era comes to an end. We will see. I don't know. It's been so much fun though, covering this era and like seeing everything she's doing because it's so incredibly well thought out. And we're already seeing so many, like the ripple effect of the BRAT era being, brought into so many other artists' rollouts and things like that. And I actually have a whole Substack post that I'm working on. I'm talking about Substack a lot in this episode, but I have a whole Substack episode Substack newsletter, called The BRAT Effect. And I'm in the middle of working on it. I've just been like kind of trying to piece everything together and really like show the references or whatever. Because there's just been so many really cool like after effects of artists using similar rollouts to Charli. It's been really interesting to watch as somebody who's just into music and into marketing as much as I am. So I'm working on that. It's, we'll get there when we get there. I actually think I want like the BRAT era to end to finally do it, to see if anything else happens, like as, the final kind of tidal wave of BRAT, but that is coming and it's been really fun to be working on. And I like when I do these like longer type pieces because I really get to, really get in there and really, really spend some time with it. But it's been really fun. And I haven't told anyone I'm doing that, but it's been very fun. And I will let you guys know when that comes out. Moving on anyway. The next performer of the weekend is Doechii, which what a goddamn performer she is. Like she is just truly next level. She has studied the greats and she knows how to perform. Her breath control, unbelievable. Her concepts, this whole show, the concept was like the school of hip hop, and she was like teaching the crowd all of the like history about hip hop and the great performers who came before her. She sampled Jay-Z during her set, which if you don't know the drama between Jay-Z and Glastonbury, he headlined in 2008, I want to say it was. And when he was announced, he was like the first rapper, hip hop artist to ever headline the festival. And the lead singer of Oasis made a comment being like, why is he performing at this? Like so unnecessary. And then Jay-Z opened his set with a mashup of 99 Problems and Wonderwall, which is just like such like a huge like fuck you slap in the face. Like at that point, especially like Jay-Z in 2008, 2009 was like so major. He's J fucking Z. So like for anyone to make a comment like that is just very unnecessary. So for Doechii to just like, pay homage to Jay-Z and just all of the little things that she does in her performances that just like pay homage to the artists that have come before her. But she really does a great job at like showing her respect and, showing where, she knows there's a reason why she's able to do what she does is because of the other artists that have come before her. But she makes it her own and does it in such a unique way. It's just so cool to watch her. She's such a fascinating artist and performer to watch. And I say this a lot, but I mean it when I say we are so lucky to be alive at the same time as Doechii. We are watching something so great right in front of her eyes. And I really hope everybody understands. Like when I say that, I don't mean it in a way of like, oh my God, she's so talented. She's great. Like, no, she is seriously someone to watch so closely because she's so smart and talented and she just is doing things to a whole different level. And it's just so impressive. And then huge moment for me, somebody who loves diva behavior. She made a whole reference to her Met Gala moment when she was like yelling at her assistant for the umbrellas. She did a whole outfit change on stage with all of these black umbrellas that came over her. She was in one outfit, they took them away, she was in another. And like they're all like the audio that was playing was like, I need another umbrella, get me another umbrella. Fully just ragging on everybody who was like making it such a big deal that she was mad that her Met Gala look was exposed, which I've said so many times that I think it was so unnecessary, the backlash that she got for that, because when you're Doechii in the year 2025 and your Met Gala outfit gets exposed, especially when the Met Gala theme is literally the dandy tailoring black fashion, like, yeah, I'd be pissed if my look got exposed as well. it was so unnecessary, but I love that she fully just went for it and like made this entire joke about it. Perfection, so well done. And just, again, we're so lucky to be watching Doechii, and she has a few more performances coming up this year. She's doing Lollapalooza next month. She's doing Austin City Limits. She's doing All Things Go here in New York and also in Maryland. So lots of performances from her coming up. And I feel like something that's cool about her is she'll probably do a little bit different for each festival. I mean, watch, she ends up doing the exact same set, but even if she does, whatever. But she usually, you know, likes to change it up a little bit, and she really likes to kind of take the Beyoncé effect of performing and like give everybody a unique show. So I'm really excited to see what she has in store for the rest of her festival run for the rest of the year. Moving on to somebody who has been doing a lot of festivals as well, Miss Olivia Rodrigo has officially become the second youngest headliner in the festival's history. She performed over the weekend, and she is only 22 years old. The only other person who has been younger than her to perform at the festival is Billie Eilish. She was 20 when she performed. So really cool to see that so many newer artists are making these historic performances at this festival that is so sought after and, you know, such a major moment for so many people. To be performing at this festival at 22 years old or 20 years old like Billie is so incredible. So major congrats to Olivia. And like I said, she's been doing a lot of festivals, but I also just feel like she's been on tour for ever. Like, and I don't mean this in a negative way, but I just feel like every time I've opened my TikTok in the last year and a half, Olivia Rodrigo has been on tour. And I'm like, are we okay? Like, are you good? Like, not in a way of like, you need to stop, because like she's still sounding great, looking great, doing her thing. But I'm like, mentally, are you okay? Like, are they overworking you? Blink if you need help, because we'll help you. You could take a break, girl. I don't know what else she has going on the rest of the year, but I'm like, she needs to take a serious break after this era, because I feel like I saw her 2023 at Jingle Ball. Yes, 2023, and Guts was out at that point, right? Guts is the second album. Yeah, Guts. So like, she's been doing this for a minute now, it feels like. And like, of course, I had the same like feeling with Taylor Swift. Like we were talking about how like, oh my God, they're on tour for 150 shows like Taylor Swift. But like, when they get off that stage, they are not lifting a finger. You know, they're being very well taken care of and pampered. And even Olivia Rodrigo, there's this girl on TikTok, I forget her name, but I follow her. She's a personal private chef, and she was vlogging her time on tour with Olivia. And like, she was getting fed the most delicious gourmet, you know, making sure it hit her protein goals and her this and the best meats or what. Maybe she's vegan, actually, I don't know. But like, you know, she was getting fed like top notch food and like had a personal chef on tour with her, which I'm sure most people do. But just seeing it happening in real time on TikTok was really cool. So like, I know when these artists get off stage, they are not lifting a finger, they are fine. But just like as a human being, like your body, you can be taken care of as much as you want. You can be carried off that stage into your bed, showered, fed. Like you could legitimately not lift a finger. Your body's still gonna go through it. You know, like there's a lot going on just mentally, physically. It's a lot. So I'm like, girl, are you all right? Like, are you good? You're only 22. Like, you should be in the club. But I digress. She also brought out Ed Sheeran, which is very exciting. Just very cool to see the two of them coming together. And again, like, Olivia, I know the whole thing about Olivia and Taylor is like kind of a moot point at this point. And like, is there drama? Is there not? I don't really care anymore. But like, knowing that Taylor brought Ed on tour for the Red Tour and that like, not that he was already kind of blowing up at that point, but like that really helped him launch a little bit further into his career for sure. And now seeing him come on stage with Olivia, like Olivia Rodrigo is the definition of Taylor Swift's pop music daughter. Like, I don't care what anybody says, Sabrina, Lacey, all of these people, Olivia Rodrigo went to the Taylor Swift School of Pop Music and graduated valedictorian, top of her class. Like, there's just so much Taylor coded things about her, and I love it. This is not a drag, this is not a comparison, this is not a read. Like, I'm the last person to pit two pop girls against each other because I just think it's so unnecessary. But like, seeing Olivia on stage with Ed and knowing Ed's history with Taylor and like all of that, it was very sweet, and like had to be a huge full circle moment for her as well. And then speaking of not pitting pop girls to get against each other like everybody else likes to do, kind of taking a sidestep from Glastonbury, but Sabrina Carpenter showed up to Olivia's show at the BST Hyde Park festival over the weekend, which, like I'm saying, Olivia's performing at like 2 festivals this weekend. It's insane. The girl does not stop working. But the big headline there, like I said, is Sabrina Carpenter was spotted backstage during her set. And of course, all of the drama between Olivia and Sabrina is really what like drove Driver's License to be that huge song that it was. I mean, it's a fantastic song regardless, but like that's really, you know, there was a lot behind that with the Joshua Bassett of it all. And then when Sabrina responded and with emails I can't send, and you know, if you know, you know, like that whole drama was crazy. But to see Sabrina like show up when she was the one who was painted as the villain in that situation, like she fully was the one that was like the other woman in the story. And even though she wasn't, you know, the public didn't know everything at the time and everything going on. So for her to like be the bigger person and show up to that set is huge. And I mean, we've seen them together in the past few months. I think they were together at the Grammys, and like, it's not like this is the first time they've been seen together. And Sabrina's performing at this festival next weekend, I want to say, but for her to be there a week early, and I'm sure she was at Glastonbury, you know, she was out and about doing her thing. She didn't just go to see Olivia, but for her to be there a week early and go to Olivia's set, it was a big moment, especially like just thinking back to like 2021 when or 2020, whenever Driver's License came out. Yeah, 2021 it had to be. Just really, it's a full circle moment. You know, the two of them are like doing their things. They kind of both went in their own directions. Olivia does a little more, not rock, but you know, she's a little more edgy. She tries to be in that sense, you know, she does her thing. And then Sabrina kind of does the more like poppy kind of vibe, you know. They definitely found their own footing in the pop music space. And I think that's what kind of allows them to not be so fan bases clashing anymore, if that makes sense. I don't know. But just cool to see Sabrina there supporting her. And, you know, I love that they kind of can move on from whatever the fucked up situation Joshua Bassett put them both through. Because at the end of the day, he's the real villain of the story. Like, it was never Sabrina or Olivia as the problem. It was Joshua Bassett. Anyway, moving on back to Glastonbury. Huge moment for me, for the podcast, for my girl, Rachel Chinariri. She performed at Glastonbury. And I mean, for her to perform at this festival this early in her career, this is such a huge moment for any artist to do, but especially when you're from the UK, like it is like the biggest stamp of approval. Like this is the festival of all festivals in the world, really. Like it really is such a huge deal to perform there. So for her to be performing there, it's just such a major moment. And like watching the videos of everybody singing the songs back to her, and she had such a huge turnout at her set. Like it was just so major. And I'm always cheering for her. She was also on Elton John's like ones to watch for the weekend. He always puts out like a list of like, here are the artists that I think you should go to, which I mean, it's Elton John and it's a huge deal for, you know, for anyone. So for her to be on that list and just have the turnout that she did. And it's just, I love seeing good things happen to that girl because she is so talented and just, I love watching, you know, her career kind of blossom. And obviously she's not a secret undercover artist anymore. She's performing at Glastonbury. Like she's big, you know, I'm not the only person in the world with eyes on her, but as somebody who, you know, I've been talking about her on the show for so long, and like to see her now having this moment is just so major, and I just love to see it. And another one that I just love to see having a huge moment like this is JADE Thirlwall, another one who I just feel like I am talking about every single week at this point. I just love her. I love her music. I love everything about this debut era that she's doing. She performed as well, and she just has such an insane stage presence. Like it was seriously unbelievable watching her performance. The choreography, the looks, the stage setup that she had. She had like these staircases she was going up and down, and just like the energy and like everything about it was just, she was like commanding that stage and really being like, I am Jade, hear me roar. I am telling you guys right now, if you are not already on the JADE bandwagon, you are completely missing out because she is seriously next level. Like I still think about her Brit performance, right? The Brits, I believe it was, that performance that she did of Angel of My Dreams when it was like a whole 5-part drama. It was unbelievable. And like, I know she's having a big moment in the UK because that is where she's based. So like, I'm happy she's at least having that moment there. But like, I need her US moment because like, God, she is just unbelievably talented. Everything about this era, I am just so obsessed with. And I cannot wait for this album and just to see like what her tour looks like later this year. She's going on a whole UK tour, which makes sense. Again, she's much bigger in the UK, as was Little Mix when they were together. But I'm hoping it comes to the US because I need to see her do a full tour. And B, I just know she's going to bring it to that stage. And I cannot wait. Even if it does end up just being a UK tour and I just have to watch on TikTok, I am going to be front row on the TikTok lives for JADE's debut tour. I cannot wait to see this show. But also, Jade, if by chance this makes it across your desk, please make sure you bring your tour to the US because I am dying to see this album performed live. It's not even out yet, but I'm already dying to hear the entire album live. I am so excited to just be seeing her having this solo moment. It's not easy to break out of a girl group and go solo and like have a huge moment. You know, you have a lot to live up to, and she is living up to every single expectation I think anybody could have. And then finally on our Glastonbury recap, we had the 1975 perform. And now I know Maddie Healy and the 1975 are a little controversial, and I understand that. And I definitely have reeled back. I was big into them in like 2014, 2015, 2016, like that era. I was all about it. And through the years, I've kind of like come and gone. You know, I have my moments, but I've definitely reeled it in, especially over the last few years, just with everything with Maddie and whatever. But I mean, one thing about them is they're going to put on a killer show, and their set just looked incredible. Like I've seen them live 4 times now, I want to say 3 or 4 times. 4 times, definitely, yeah, 4 times. And every show is just so good. They have such a fun stage presence on stage, just the energy in the room from the fans and everything. They have such like a dedicated fan base that even if you go to the show not as like a huge stan, you still feel that energy and just kind of like takes over you. If you've been to a 1975 show, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But I mean, there was definitely an interesting quote that he made on stage, and he was definitely being, you know, ironic, and it was satire as Maddie Healy does. But he said, "I'm probably the best songwriter of my generation, the best. What do you say, a poet?" And I mean, when Taylor Swift released an entire album about you called The Tortured Poets Department, and then you refer to yourself as a poet on stage, of course you know what you're doing, and the internet's going to take that and run. I actually was surprised. I didn't see as much hate or like theories about it online as I expected, but as soon as I saw him say that, I was like, you know what you're fucking doing. And like, it's no denying that The Tortured Poets Department is 90, maybe 85% about Maddie Healy. Actually, when you think about the entire album, that now that it's 38 songs with the anthology, like maybe it's a little more 75, I don't know. But regardless, the majority of The Tortured Poets Department is about Maddie Healy. So for him to make this comment, I was just like, oh, I see you, girl. I see what you're saying. I see you up there throwing shade. Not that Taylor gives a fuck. She's very happy out and about through New York City with Travis all weekend. Like, not affecting her. I don't even think it's really affecting him that much. I think he just like saw an opportunity and took it. I mean, are they married yet, him and Gabrielle? I don't know. I know they got engaged, which I was famously at the scene of the crime at the Charli xcx show the night that they announced their engagement. I'm always at the scene of the crime with Maddie Healy. Like, as always, when the Taylor and Carly kiss happened, I was there. When this, like, I'm always at the scene of the crime. What can I say? I'm always on the pulse. No, I'm just kidding. That was so cocky of me. I am so sorry. That was disgusting. But that would be something Maddie Healy would say. So I guess it's very fitting for, you know, the topic at hand. And that is Glastonbury. Just, you know, our little recap. It was very just cool. Like, this entire lineup was so too pop to handle coded, you know, and there was this barely even scratched the surface of the amount of performers who were there this weekend. It's a huge festival, and I'm definitely missing some people. These were the ones that are like my core. Like, if you know, you know, these are like my, you know, my big ones that I really needed to chat about. So very exciting. And I love to see live music thriving, especially I was having this moment at Beyonce. Yeah, at Beyonce. And I was standing there just like listening to the music, doing my thing. And I definitely might have taken a gummy during the show, but I had this moment, and I have this moment during a lot of shows post-COVID. SZA is a big one. Whenever I see SZA live and she sings Good Days, it always hits me. But it was during, I forget what it was during. Oh, it had to have been Renaissance, or maybe, I don't know. It was during Cowboy Carter for sure. During like my first night, I was at the show, and I just had this like out of body moment where I was like, there was a time 5 years ago where we couldn't go to concerts. And like, as somebody who has been going to concerts for as long as I have, like having that hard stop for a year and a half of no shows, like it was, people were going through a lot worse. Trust me. I know people were literally dying. Like, there was a lot worse situations going on during the pandemic. Let me not get into a controversy in that way. But what I'm saying is, like, now that going to shows is so regular and normalized again, but like just thinking about a time where like we weren't going to concerts and like we legitimately couldn't go, or like you had to wear a mask during the show. And like, obviously I was the first person in my friend group to get vaccinated. I was wearing a mask until after we had to. Like, I was very, you know, helping with the pandemic. But it is really, you know, seeing these big moments happening in live music, and like, just, I don't know, it's something to celebrate. And I think live music is so special, and like, we all know that, but like, I just always think, I'm like, you know, we are so lucky to just have these moments at a concert and like disconnect from the world for a little bit and like listen to our favorite songs live. Just fabulous. And if anybody is looking to go to a concert anytime soon, if you want to save some money, you can use code 2pop to handle on your first order at SeatGeek. Anyway, let's move on. I feel like I'm like on one tonight. I don't know what's going on. Maybe it's just if you're watching the visual, I'm in a new setting because like with the sun setting later, it's like we got to figure out a whole new thing. Maybe it's a new setting. Maybe I'm still delirious from Pride weekend. I don't really know, but regardless, I'm having fun. So I hope you guys are too. Everyone's clicked out by this point. Anyway, moving into our second to last segment of the episode, our TV recap. Now, I need to apologize due to, my excessive partying during Pride weekend. I have not watched Drag Race yet. I do know who goes to the finale or like the second round from bracket 3. And I'm not going to come on here and be like, they don't deserve it. They don't, but like, I definitely am surprised at the people who made, not all the people, but one person in particular. I am more surprised that she made it over some other people in the cast. But like, I'm not going to come on here and be like, she didn't deserve it, because she does deserve it, because she got cast on All Stars because they saw potential in them to be an all-star. So anybody who makes it to the bracket in any of these, whether it's the first, second, third bracket, any of the 3 girls who made it with the most amount of points to get to the final round of this season deserves to be there. So I think the negativity online, it happens with every Drag Race season, but it's really like, we gotta chill out. At the end of the day, this is a TV show and none of us get anything from watching this show other than entertainment. It's not paying our bills. It's not, it's not curing cancer. It's not anything like changing the world. I mean, it's changing the world in the sense of like, opening up a world for drag queens and gay people. Yes, of course. But the backlash that it gets from fans online and just like tearing some of these queens down because you don't agree with the judges, just like, it's all fun and games until, the Twitter fingers happen. So I don't know anything about the episode other than who goes through. I don't know who the challenge was. I don't know who the guest judges were. I don't know who the top 2 were. I don't know how the points happened. I don't know anything other than who gets through to the final round. So I'm excited to watch it and kind of see how like the cards kind of get shuffled and how it ends up being the 3 that it is. But yeah, I apologize. No recap this week for Drag Race. We will chat next week about next week's episode. And if there's anything to note, I'll make like a comment about like how it ended up that way and if I agree with it in that sense. But I do think like the conversation about like she doesn't deserve to be there, any of the people in the final thing, like they don't deserve to be there, it just is completely negated because like they got cast on All Stars for a reason, so they do deserve to be there. So like it's already pointless for you to make that argument. However, on the other hand, I am up to date on Love Island, and boy oh boy has a lot happened in that villa. So last time we spoke, I believe they just went to Casa Amor, and I was saying last episode that I do think that Olandria and Taylor are going to end up back together and like not win, but make it to the end. And God, was I completely wrong, because you just can't trust men these days. And I'm not, this isn't to fault Taylor at all. Like he was, he's on a game show. He's trying to date around and do his thing. However, seeing how fast he switched up in just 3 days from being coupled up with Olandria the entire 3 weeks being in the villa, and then Clark comes in and they're together for 3 days and he's picking her over Olandria, I definitely was shocked. Like I did not see that coming at all. Though what I will say is I can see Taylor's argument, if you want to call it that, because him and Olandria were coupled up from day one. Like they've been with each other, figuring this out. And he definitely was a little more reserved with her. With Clark, we're seeing a new side of him. So whether that means he's more into Clark than he was Olandria, I don't know if that's the case. But I do think what he is realizing is that like he needs to really utilize his time in the villa better and like explore a little. I hate the word explore after the season. Everybody's exploring a connection. Everybody's exploring. It's like, all right, we get it. You're all Dora the Explorer. We get it. However, I understand him wanting to find, what else is out there and whatever it may be. But I definitely did not see it coming. Like I thought he was going to pick Olandria and like they were going to live happily ever after. So I was definitely shocked during that recoupling when he picked her over Olandria. Moving on, Nick and Sierra. I am so thrilled. I love the two of them. And I did a TikTok about this as well. So if you're not following me on TikTok already, I post more like real live updates about Love Island here and there on my TikTok, my personal. So at Andrew Nucatola, I'll have it linked down below. But I posted a TikTok and I said, I was like, yes, I understand everybody is focused on Nicolandria and like that whole thing of like them coming back together as a couple. I understand that like that was definitely a seed planted by production because they were seeing so many people online talk about how much they wanted Nick and Olandria together after they did like, you know, during was it the baseball challenge? I think it was, whatever the challenge was when like they kissed each other at the end and like he walked out of the barn. Yeah, whatever that one was. He like walked out with her over the shoulder. Like I understand like shipping it, sure. And like they definitely have some like flirty eyes or whatnot, but I just don't see the connection between the two of them the way that I see Taylor and Nick and Sierra connecting. Like I see through it kind of, and like people are still writing for Nicolandria and I'm like, all right, well, they're closed off now. Sierra and Nick are officially closed off. So like, I think we can let that ship sail and like stop nitpicking apart every little thing that Nick does. Even during the heart rate challenge, when everyone was like, he licked her toes and was staring in her eyes. Yeah, he was trying to get her heart rate up, which is the point of the challenge. Like, I don't see where everyone, like, it's not clicking for other people. If that makes sense. I don't know. But I am so thrilled that Nick and Sierra are officially closed off and a couple. I do not like Elan. I'm not a fan. I don't like that he ran back to Chris, I think it was. Yeah, Chris, after Amaya was saying she doesn't feel the connection. And like, I don't know. Something about him rubs me the wrong way. And I'm just not a fan of him. He could leave and it wouldn't change the show for me. I'm like, yep, you're good, go. He also like exploring with Amaya. I'm just like, why? Like, no, Amaya deserves better than that. I don't know. He's not doing it for me. So the way that Nick confronted him, I was happy that he pulled him aside and chatted with him. But like, I just think he's got to go. Like I'm over it, but I'm so thrilled the two of them are officially closed off. Honestly, I could see the two of them winning the entire show. I also just think like there's no other standing couples really. Like nobody else has a connection the way that they do. Nobody else is even closed off. And like tonight's episode is literally about to air in 15 minutes. I saw the preview that leaked and it was like they did that anonymous mailbox and they're all screaming at each other and Shelly and Ace even feel like they're about to fall out. So like there's definitely some tension in the villa. So I'm curious to see what's to come on tonight's episode. We'll talk about that next week, of course. But something about this season, it just feeling really forced and really like all the shakeups, like even Casa Amor, they all leave and now they're single and have to couple up again. And then with the heart rate challenge, they're doing it in couples. Like it feels like they're trying too hard to like make it something when there's really not a lot there. And I was listening to Odd Vice, which is another podcast that I absolutely love. And they were saying how like they brought in all of these people who clearly knew of each other. Most of them knew of each other beforehand. Like so many of them are in the LA influencer space and Huda was liking things of Ace's, I think, back in like 2021 and Shelly and Ace knew each other, but like they knew each other more than just following each other on Instagram and being outside of a club. Like they were commenting on each other's stuff and like there's definitely something weird about the way that this season was cast because a lot of the people going in are already influencers and like seeing the success of season 6 and how all of them became influencers, like you can't replicate that. And like bringing in people with an established following already isn't going to make it that much more interesting. I don't know if that makes sense of what I'm trying to say, but like, I just feel like this season, I'm still going to watch it. Like I'm not checked out. I'm seeing a lot of people checked out, which I'm surprised by. But at this point, we're like 25 episodes in. I'm like, I can't check out. Like there's so much time invested into this. Like I'm going to see it through. But yeah, this season is just starting to feel a little forced. And I didn't feel that way up until like the last week or so. Like, and now I'm just kind of like, all right, they're going to add all these curveballs and change things up and whatever. I don't know. I'm not out. Like I'm still going to watch and like I am enjoying it's entertaining television, but like it's not hitting the way that season 6 did. And like that's to be expected. Season 6 was like one of the best seasons of reality TV. My God, we have gotten in so long. So like, of course, we're trying to emulate it, but it's not hitting the way that season did. What else? Huda and Ace, that was a whole thing. And I'm really curious what from the heart rate challenge that like was so insane, because like you can clearly see Huda fully having her ass in his face, but they cut to her getting off and Shelly is mad about whatever she did. So like clearly there was something further than what we saw, and like everyone's saying like, oh, Ace was probably all, you know, horned up and had a hard on for her during the challenge, so they had to cut that and this or that, which like, I mean, he's a man with somebody's ass in their face. Yeah, it's gonna happen, like whatever. But I don't know. Huda is teetering on for me right now. Like I like her some of the times and then I don't like her the rest. And I'm trying to figure out my footing with her right now. And then the conversation with Chris last night, he was like, oh, I always attract emotionally unstable women. And she was like, what do you think? I'm emotionally unstable? I'm like, baby, you're the poster child. Like, and I say that not to drag her, but I'm like, yeah, you are. So why are you asking if he thinks you're emotionally unstable? Just come clean and say it, because he's going to find out one way or another. So Huda is definitely ruffling some feathers for me right now. I don't know. She's just, I don't know. We'll see. And I'm also like, we're losing so many of the other Islanders, like Pepe. I can't even remember the one blonde girl's name from Casa and More because she's never on screen. I can't even think of like half the other Islanders' names. I'm like, I don't even know, because they're barely on screen because they're focusing on the same 4 people. It's just like, it's an interesting way that they are spinning this season. And again, I'm not out. I'm going to keep watching it. And I am enjoying it. Like I like the season, but I'm watching it with an eyebrow raised. You know, I'm definitely a little like, I see what you're doing. And I don't know if it's working necessarily. That is Love Island. That's all I have really. It was like, I don't know. I wish they weren't changing so much this season, because sometimes change is good and sometimes change just is unnecessary. And all of the change that they're doing this season just feels unnecessary. And like they're trying to like reel us all back in after doing a bad job casting, if that makes sense. But again, I'll keep watching. We'll keep recapping. I'm having fun watching, but I'm not going to everyone and being like, guys, you have to watch this season like I was for season 6. Like season 6, I was like, guys, turn this show on. It is incredible. This time I'm like, you don't need to tune in. Like if you're watching it and you've invested the time already, yeah, keep watching it. But I'm not going to go like run to someone and be like, oh my God, season 7 of Love Island USA was the best thing I've ever watched, because I would be lying to their face. And I don't like lying to people. And that brings us to the end of our episode, but we're not done just yet, because you guys know we end every single episode with my yes and my mess of the week. My yes being something I am loving and my mess being something I am not loving. We always start things on a high note here at Too Pop to Handle. So kicking it off with my yes is no other than Miss Rachel Zegler. I feel like I just have to give her flowers. She's really having a moment right now. She has such an interesting break into Hollywood, getting cast in West Side Story with literally no movie experience. Just like all she had done before was like community theater, and then she literally lands the role of Maria in West Side Story. And she's got an interesting deck of cards when it comes to movies. I mean, she was Snow White, and like that whole movie just had like the craziest drama around it, and the press tour was a mess, and like there was a lot of just negativity around that. And her movies kind of, not because of her movies just always get this like weird reputation for some reason, and it's not her fault, but she's really found a home in theater and on stage. She was just in Romeo and Juliet here in New York, and people loved it. People were obsessed with that show, and now she's making her West End debut. I actually think she literally it just happened like in real time when I'm recording this. I think she just got off stage like an hour and a half ago from her West End debut. She's been doing previews, but like tonight was opening night. But if you haven't seen, during Don't Cry For Me Argentina, the show is in Evita. I don't know if I mentioned that, but during the show, during Don't Cry For Me Argentina, she comes out on a balcony of the theater and performs the entire song, which is like the big moment of the show. Like it's the big song from the show. She performs it for the street. So if you bought a ticket for the show, you don't actually watch her perform it. You watch it on a screen, which, you know, people were like annoyed about, whatever, but like it's very telling for the story. She's like outside and performing it for people on the street, when the people inside who paid for the tickets, or like it's like the rich versus the poor kind of thing, aren't watching it. It's like, you know, it's, if you know the show, it makes sense with the plot. However, she's getting such rave reviews, and like people are just eating her up on stage, and it's just so nice to see that like people are seeing her talent in a way that like isn't always appreciated in a movie, if that makes sense. I just feel like she's really having like such a great moment when it comes to being on stage, and she really just holds herself and performs so well. And I mean, especially like Jamie Lloyd is producing this production of Evita, and he just did Sunset Boulevard. So to see that he's like kind of carrying some of the aspects of Sunset Boulevard with like the cameras and the screens into this production, like it's just a cool way for him to kind of put his stamp on a show. And the way that Rachel is like doing it, and like there's just so much emotion, and like you could just tell she is like fully engulfed in this role and seriously just like born to be on a theater stage. West End, on Broadway, whatever it may be, like she was made to be on a live production stage, and she is just having such a moment right now, and I just love to see it. I'm so happy that she is just like killing it, and I really hope, I mean, it's doing phenomenally already. Like people are already raving about this show, and it literally just opened, but I really hope they bring this production to Broadway because I think it would be such a killer show, and people would just go nuts over it. So very curious to see if Evita ends up coming over here, and I would love if Rachel Zegler stayed in it because I would absolutely have to go see that. And moving on to our mess of the week, something I am not loving, it just gotta be Jeff Bezos and Lauren Sanchez's wedding. It just feels so incredibly out of touch to like watch these billionaires have these grand, insane weddings. I mean, they literally spent between $46 and $55 million on this wedding. And it was just like, that is such an insane amount of money when you think about everything else going on in the world. And like, there are so many people in the world who are homeless and going to bed hungry and who are being killed, like innocent people being killed for no reason right now. And like, we're watching Jeff Bezos get married in Venice. And it's like, it just feels so insanely out of touch. And like, of course, a billionaire is going to spend all this money on a wedding, whatever, but it just feels insane. I'm seeing a lot of backlash online for like the people who went to the wedding. They're like, why is Oprah there? Why are the Kardashians going with all this is going on? I don't fault the guests as much. Like even Sydney Sweeney was there, and like I don't think she's really closely tied to Jeff Bezos. I think this was just like a huge wedding that like if you're famous you probably got an invite to this. Like he's just very well connected. I don't like fault anyone for going. Like if I was an A-lister, I would also probably go to this wedding because like you have the money and it's like the most fabulous wedding of the year. Like obviously on paper. However, just like seeing the actual wedding, like it just didn't seem like as va-va-voom. Like they didn't even spend the $6 million to get Lady Gaga. They were like playing it through a DJ. Like it was just like, you could have gotten a live performer. Like you could have done a little bit more. I thought Lauren's dress was ugly. I thought her rehearsal dinner dress was ugly. And like, I'm pretty sure it was Schiaparelli. And like, it's kind of hard to make Schiaparelli look bad. And she somehow did it. I don't know. The whole wedding was just very like, it just rubbed me the wrong way. Not just because he's a billionaire and like, I just don't like billionaires. Like I'll never champion someone with that amount of money. Even like with Taylor Swift, I like throw a blind eye because I'm like, why do you need that much money? Like, why do you need to be a billionaire? But with Jeff Bezos, he's a little more dark spirited, you know, a little more evil behind his $1 billion and like Taylor Swift's. But that being said, it really rubbed me the wrong way. And there's so much negativity and like bad things happening in the world to like to open Instagram all weekend and just see that like Jeff Bezos is doing his wedding and this person, and it just, I don't know. I think the world needs less billionaires. I think the world needs no billionaires, actually. Nobody should have that amount of money. It is just unbelievable to me. It's like an unfathomable amount of money for me. It's insane. But that is my mess of the week, which means we have made it to the end of the episode. Thank you guys so much for listening to this week's episode of Too Pop to Handle. If you're listening to us as a podcast and you liked what you heard, make sure you go ahead and leave me a 5-star rating. Remember, don't be shy. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you go ahead and hit subscribe. Give me a big thumbs up. Drop a comment down below. You know the vibes. If you are interested in getting some more moments from the week that were just Too Pop to Handle in between podcast episodes, head over to toopoptohandle.substack.com and you can subscribe to my weekly newsletter Popping In, where I send some extra pop culture moments in between episodes that, you know, you might want to bring out at brunch or just to keep you in the know. And we have a lot of fun on Substack. I feel like it's like you get a little more of like a update from me midweek because sometimes, you know, some things happen in between episodes and I want to tell you guys a little bit sooner than on Wednesday on the podcast. So Substack is a great place to connect. Also, if you're looking to connect anywhere else, you could find me at Too Pop to Handle across all platforms, as well as on my personal accounts at Andrew Nucatola across all platforms. I'll have everything linked down below for you guys. And I think that is it. Yeah, I think that wraps it up. And with that, I will catch you guys next week. Bye.